Here we are spawning in the bottom left. Wow, I know my cardinal directions. In the red, he is representing all of his sugar puppy bears. Parting. And his opponent here spawning in the bottom right in the blue. He is, for Team NV, DRG. And man, one of the best parts about having a fancy new mic is I can mess around with proximity effects. So I can sit further away and I sound like I'm coming in from a tunnel, or I can sound really close and do some StarCraft ASMR casting. Well, not ASMR casting, but I can do the true radio broadcast, you know. Talk about some smooth jazz as we get on into here to this semifinals. And it's really nice. It sounds nice, I think. It makes me really happy, although talking the entire time with this level of proximity effect is not the easiest thing to do, especially if I'm trying to be excited, because the built-in windscreen's not incredible. So getting that proximity effect with this windscreen means there are a lot of plosives, and that doesn't sound all that great. So we're just gonna go for standard sound. That's what we do, but you know, it's fun. It's nice. It's what I do when I'm trying to convince the banelings that they actually need to do what I want them to do. But for the moment, we really don't have that much to talk about in this game, as the game's opening normal, but I gotta say, I'm rather surprised that this is the map that we opened up on. I'm rather surprised that this is the map that Parting allowed on through. Granted, you only get one veto each, and I gotta assume one of those vetoes is Beckett. Although, I think Beckett in ZVP is actually more of a Zerg favorite map than it is a Protoss favorite map. I mean, Beckett's terrible for Zerg in general, certainly when Terrans play, but with how quickly you can get the creep across the map, Queen walks of any shape and form are really strong. So I do feel like that is very Terran favored. Or sorry, very Zerg favored when we're talking about ZVP. Unless, of course, you're Zest. You go for 2-base carrier, and then those builds don't really matter. But that really hasn't caught on yet. All right, so this is going to be a robo opener here from Parting, which tells us that he wants to get aggressive here in this game number 1 in a way that Stargate really doesn't allow you to do. So this adept will actually escape. It will. Oh, there we go. That's that Parting micro we love to see. Anyways, this adept's going to try to get on in, but yeah, this time Parting, he's going to sacrifice it for the cause. So at the end of the day, we're like, yes, the adept escapes. Well, no, not really. So it's going to be DT drops, though, on the way here for Parting in this game. And this is something, actually, it's been coming into the fore. It's really rejoined the meta with a vengeance in the last, I don't know, month and a half. We've seen a lot more of it, and it makes some sense. With the... Well, we see less we see less adept play, so we see less Zerg players kind of really reacting to that. And because it's been out of the meta for a while, every time DT rushes or DT drops, anything like that, are out of the meta, they're really strong, right? Because suddenly Zergs are not getting the 330 spore. They're not doing these things that you need to do to make sure you're safe against DT drops. And therefore, that just makes it that much more powerful. They're cutting corners. They're only getting 1 spore on the... in the main base, so that means DTs can drop on into the 3rd. But we talk about things, by the way. This map is actually Parting? Are you taking a proxy nexus here? If Parting is, I will love him forever. Whatever he builds there, I'm going to love him forever. So now we will have these DTs dropped on into the main base, and the spores are in the proper position. Adepts have found their way on into the 3rd base as well, but we're going to look to see whether these DTs get anything done. They will not be able to do so, but he does have to be careful of these queens. The Warp Prism is getting rather low. 1 more volley. Oh, God. 9 HP. 1 more, 2 more shots. And that Warp Prism does go down. 1 more volley, and the Warp Prism does go down. Now, the Adepts, they got 3 workers. Sure, they got something done here, but They all did go down. Yeah, it's going to be a proxy nexus from parting. Island bases. I love maps like this, right? And it's funny, I was talking to Steadfast when this map came out. He's like, yeah, this is just going to be so bad for Zerg. It's not even worth going to be playing. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. And against Terran, it is pretty bad. The 2-base tank pushes are really scary. But, if you can get this game on into the mid game, if you can survive those 2-base pushes, well, this map gets really, really cool. Once these rocks open on up here, it allows attack patterns from multiple angles. You have this 3rd base, but really the gold that gets really interesting because, well, A, it's hard for the Zerg to take, also hard for others. Wait, does DRG know about this? He doesn't. He's just opening up the rocks anyways. I guess he doesn't want there to be any sort of, any staging ground or something. And okay, probes are going to get recalled to this, and the Zerglings are going to eventually find their way on through. This is actually going to be really good here for DRG. DRG is going to, or Parting's going to lose this base rather soon. But okay, so now the Archons will find this, and this is not all that suspicious yet. You're like, ah, I found a bunch of Zerglings. There we go. We're going to have to see how long until DRG really, okay, there he is. Now he's aware. Really, this is just on a scouting path to the main base. So, well, he's going to get it anyways. Now these Zerglings are going to return in a vengeance, but it's going to take so long here for DRG to really be able to break any of these walls down. I mean, Zerglings do not kill these. It's what is this? Like 2,000 health. It's got a couple armor. Good luck knocking that one down. So that is going to be nice here. Party will be able to keep this alive for the time being because he does have a shield battery and a cannon as well. DRG, he's going to take the goal. And what this means, with DRG being so focused on the bottom side of the map, it's going to be harder for him to really punish the gold position where, you know, you can put something behind the mineral line and deny mining there for quite a while. DRG will have the time to really spread his creep up around that gold base to make sure that he actually can hold that off. So we have Hydras on the way. This is just Roach Hydra from DRG. Talk about a blast from the past. And someone was talking earlier about, wow, man, it is... It's parting. It's Leonok versus DRG. What year is it? Well, we have Roach Hydra coming out from DRG, and that also is very much a what year is it moment. But okay, it's just gonna be Lurkers. That makes sense. Man, we're talking about this map again because this map is really cool. It starts rather small and then it expands. It gets so big and so expansive, and there are all these different attack paths. It is. I'm not going to say it's my favorite map because it's, as the Zerg, is not that fun to play. Certainly not against Terran. But from a viewer perspective, especially in this matchup, it is such a cool map to watch. Right, we start to get really small and it's choky and it's hard to deal with, and then it gets bigger. Then the rocks get taken on down. The gold gets taken here. The Zerg takes the right-hand side of the map. The Protoss, well, they take a proxy 3rd base here in a absolutely perfectly defendable position. And then the map gets bigger. We see things go all over the place. So now it's going to be Roach Hydra here. All the Hydras are in the front, though. And that's a bit of a problem here. The Roaches aren't really buffering. But it is just a bunch of Blink Stalkers here with +1. We will... Oh, that filed. Nice job there. We'll knock down this Observer. And we don't have any... Lurker... Lurker tech is done, but we don't have any Lurkers yet. And Parting continuing to try to push on in here as we have Hallucinated Colossus just trying to soak some of the DPS. So Stalkers blink on forward, knock down the detection. And yeah, there's a DT in this army. So actually there are 2 DTs in this army. So that's actually a big deal here as the DTs are really starting to go on to town. And yes, DRG has a better army, but well, the DTs here, suddenly that is a bit more in question. But there we go. Yeah, do we have detection? Did we see DTs get targeted down? We did. Okay. So now we do have detection here. But that was able to really rebalance the army size a little bit more. And you know what? That Hallucinated Colossus actually has done a lot. It soaked some damage, and this army here from DRG, it's a little bit smaller. Granted, we do have Lurkers on the way. Parting's army supply is not nearly as nice as it would like to be, and now, well, the Stalkers are just going to look to blink on into the main base. DRG, he's reacting, though, and he should be fine to deal with it. Yeah, he should have what he needs. He's going to find his way on, and he's going to get a couple Overlords, but that should be just about it. And he will lose a couple Stalkers in the exchange. Right, yes, eventually he will be able to blink on out, but that's a slow zone, so it's a lot harder to escape than you would otherwise think, right? Because it takes a little while for the Stalkers that were there to find their way on out. Oh, Lurker's on hold position. DRG. Oh, there he goes. He triggers it. On top of everything, Stalker's going to have to blink on backwards. And that was a really, really massive hold position Lurker set up there. Now, one Lurker will get targeted on down because it is +2 Blink Stalkers. But really, DRG, he's just taking a hold of this game. He does, of course, have... Oh, he's got a big surround here, too. He does have that gold base, which has been uncontested, by the way. Harding has been playing this game on the entire bottom side of the map, which meant he has not been able to stick three adepts on the upper side and try to do something about it. So that means these Stalkers will eventually go on down. But again, Harding, he's on a massive income lead. And here's the thing. We have Lurkers here. Stalkers are going to blink on top of them, so the Lurkers will go down. As Lurkers just try to get out of range of that cannon, really, which is all that's providing vision. But now that Roach is right, Hydra's here, they will be able to break this on down a whole lot faster. Yeah, certainly these don't kill armored units, armored buildings all that great, but +1, +2 Roach Hydra. Yeah, it's going to knock that down a little bit more. Hey, Skin Milk, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening. If you missed it earlier, and I will be uploading these to YouTube, we did, of course, we did ESL Open Cup North America. That finished around like 9 p.m. Eastern time. We covered Trigger's run, and man, it was a fantastic run. Those games are absolutely worth watching, even if they're, they're not Rainer versus Clem. They were really fantastic games, and the storyline we had as well was really awesome. So now we do have these Stalkers here in the, well, once again, they're going to try to blink on into the main base, and they will find 3 queens for free. That's going to be, this Warp Prism, by the way, has survived so gosh darn much. I mean, it really has. It's still on that 8 HP that it was previously. So, hey, these Stalkers are going to get a decent amount of damage down here. 3 queens will go down, and the Stalkers, well, they will be able to get their way on out. And now we do have, I believe Lurker Ranged was finished. We still need to see Lurker Burrow. And there it is on the way. The Lurkers are going to burrow up. This DT's not going to get a lot done. DRG, though, he's only on 4 bases. And the interesting thing here is DRG can continue to focus on this pocket base. That is really hard to deal with. Or he can pressure the 4th base, but he can't do both. Right, they are just so far apart here. It's kind of a similar situation that we often see Zerg players dealing with, or Zerg players doing to their opponents, where they're like, look, I'm just going to keep expanding away from you. I'm going to make that life difficult. But now we do have this push here on the left-hand side, excuse me, but there are enough charge slots and enough stuff that this is really not going to be all that successful. And I would love to see once Lurker Burrow is done, like 2 Lurkers here behind the mineral line. But really, I love this expand pattern from DRG because it's making from Harding. Because it's making DRG make some really tough decisions. Now, I think at the end of the day, DRG is traded just better. So he's going to be able to force his way on in here, knock this base down, and then knock the 4th base down. But it's still a really cool idea. Oh, look at that Blinding Cloud on top of all of the photon cannons. There we go. The Warp Prism finally will go on down. But I mean, Harding got a lot out of this base. He got about 3/4 probably of its value, and he will lose it now. But it's not the end of the world. He will, of course, deny the mining here on the 4th base of DRG as well. So it's effectively a 3-base Zerg against a 3-base Protoss player. And the Protoss player is a fresher base. I mean, granted, eventually this will be mining once again. But for the time being, I mean, that's where we were. Now, DRG does have his 5th base up too, so no big deal there. So this DT will run on in, and actually we have 0 static defense really anywhere. But now, it's kind of funny. We look at the meta of whether there's static defense, whether there isn't. There was a time when we just saw these big late-game ZVPs all over the place. It was just static defense up the wazoo. All over the place. However, not so much anymore here, as it's a little bit more early game focus. Those disruptor stops are going to be really nice. Disruptors, of course, well, they're the reason that... or the lack of disruptors are the reason that Rainer went for all of those Lurker timings against Zest, because while Lurkers are fantastic against Storm, less so against disruptors. But when you're a 2.5 base, 2-base player at this point, when you're losing everything, when your army is just not all that big, it doesn't really matter whether you go for disruptors or go for Storm. When the Zerg player is literally quadrupling your army supply, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. That being said, the SDTs are getting a lot done, and there's no detection here. Okay, there's the detection on in, and that means DRG should be able to find his way on in. That being said, these charge lots on the right-hand side, they're getting a lot. They have evaporated 21 workers. They have killed off a base. They have not killed off this one, but there's not workers there. It doesn't matter, though. GG. Harding, he's going to fall down. DRG takes game 1. And now game 2. Will we see Harding do something similar? I don't think he's going to go for some sort of proxy base, some sort of hidden base. That seemed to be very much a map-specific decision. And, you know, in all honesty, that base did pay off for Harding. He was able to mine a decent amount from it. And now we're going to have to see exactly what he goes for on this game, right? Again, he can't get away with some sort of proxy. I don't think he's going to try at the very least to get away with some sort of proxy base or some sort of oddly positioned base. And I think he's probably going to play something a little bit more standard, but also he is parting, and he does love his aggressive builds. I feel like I've been having a lot of this discussion tonight. A lot of aggressive Protoss players who play a little bit funkily. Seen them do we've seen a lot of that. We cast 2 best of 5s and 1 best of 3 with Trigger as well, and he is very much a parting style, a Max Pax, a parting style player. Maybe a little bit more of a bias towards macro play. But, I mean, at the end of the day, he does like his aggressive builds. He does like his timings. All right, so we have a Templar Archives on the way here for game number 2 for parting. As it signals Glaives, but he went DT drops in game 1. We have to see how much gas he does end up mining for this. This may be DT drops once again. Actually, you know what? It's not, because this is not Roboverse. So this will be adept Glaives. Maybe will be Blink, maybe Charge, but most likely Glaives. And we've seen some interesting variations of the Glaives build as of late. We've seen 3 gate Glaives instead of 4 with a third base, and actually it ends up being a +1 Blink Stalker timing. We've seen Glaive into DT rear its head again. Okay, Glaives was started then canceled. Okay, there we go. Just wanted to make sure he had the additional gateways, but this will be 4 gate Glaives and the standard build. Now we're gonna have to see what he does off of this, whether he does go for DTs, the third base, whatever parting wants to go for. But for the moment, this is your standard Glaive adept timing that Zest made famous over a year ago. That brought him to the finals of Katowice before Raynor said, I learned that, before Rogue learned how to deal with this. Okay, so this will be the follow-up here. We're not going to have a third base, nothing like that, but it will be DT adept into DT. And that, of course, does mean that, well, parting does have to get damage done here. But also, Zergs have really stopped getting the 1 spore per base, really getting 1 spore per base, just cutting that out of their builds, because you don't really see adept into DT nearly as much as you used to. Now the adepts are on the way here. War Prism as well. And DRG, well, to the surprise of no one, he's going for the DRG defense. We have Zerglings on the way right now. Roachborn's just about done. Spine between the natural and the third base. More bias towards the third base, of course. And, well, he's just going to have to hold this. But here's the question. Do we have any spores? Do we have any detection? We don't. Is he going to get some? Who knows? But it looks like now is he just going to commit to this defense? I don't think he will. And that means these DTs are just going to get so much done. Okay, actually, you know what? There's a spore on the way. Spore in the third base. I mean, but the DTs are already warping on in. And you need more than 1 spore. You really do. You need 1 spore per base, and even then, sometimes if the DTs get on top of it, they just be able to jump on top. So this is even worse. The adepts will find the third base, and yeah, you got to pull the workers here. But DTs on in the natural, they're just eviscerating everything. Yeah, this is actually, this just came any damage, unfortunately. I wish I could say anything more about it, but the DTs, they're going to get the base. And once the base goes down, yeah, the Zerglings, I mean, okay, they're going to get the adept, sure, that's fine. 9 workers have died. But the base is going to go down, and the main base is in trouble as well. There's a spire, or there's a lair on the way, but it will not matter. GG. Parting, he's going to take game number 2, and he's going to tie up the series. Here we are, spawning in the bottom left. In the red, he is, well, the jack of all trades. Cheeky Protoss, he is parting. And his opponent here spawning the upper right. In the blue, he is the man from times gone by. From Busan, he is DRG. And it's funny, I feel like a lot of my casts today, at the very least, have been very much kind of very temporally focused. Right, we had the DreamHack qualifiers where it was very much old guard versus new guard. You know, it was It was Trigger trying to take down Jon Snow and Semper and Dolan to a lesser extent. But these players that have been in the scene for forever, have qualified for WCS, have made decent runs. And then it's Trigger, who's new, who is 17 years old, who is taking the server by storm and making these fantastic runs. But he's new, right? He hasn't been playing the game for nearly as long. And he did end up qualifying. He did lose to Jon Snow in a nail-biting game number 5 that he probably should have won. And beat Semper as well. So you saw some of the young blood find its way on in old blood as well. And this is a similar idea. Not quite as much because there's really not a lot of new blood in Korea. We have Prince, and he's not even all that new. We have, what's his name? The Terran player. Percival. But other than that, it's not a lot of new blood. But still, we do have, Parting playing Lenok, which is very much a 2014, 2013, 2012 thing. So that's what we got that going for us at the very least. So this will be a Twilight opener once again. And I think this is going to be, well, I don't know. Parting has opened DTs in 2 games this far in this series. It stands to reason that he would do it a 3rd time as well. But maybe he's going to throw us for a loop. Maybe he's going to do something different. But for all intents and purposes, right now, this is the same build he threw at DRG in game number 2. Now, of course, DRG, you gotta imagine, he's going to learn from his mistakes that he went for in the previous game. And he will, of course, actually get spores. We'll be able to hold this a little bit better. But I love this little bit of a depth pressure. This is something that's kind of fallen out of the meta because Zergs just kind of learned to build the Zerglings they need. But if you can just mess with the mining, mess with the drone rally between the natural and the 3rd base, it can be rather annoying, and sometimes you can even get damage done. But, well, he's not going to get much, but he will curtail the mining just a little bit here. As now Zerglings are out on the map, and this is Adept Glaive, so that is, right now this is the same build. And as we don't see a Dark Shrine on the way, it's going to be a little bit different. Right? I believe the Dark Shrine was started right around the time the gates finished. So with no Dark Shrine here, Party, he's going for a more standard build. And that means he's most likely going to go for a 3rd base behind this. This is just kind of your standard Adept pressure build. But realistically, I mean, we're watching a man who developed his own named defense for it. I mean, the DRG defense is a thing, right? With the spine and the Zerglings and all that. But here's the thing, man. DRG, the fear of God has been put into him just a little bit. He has spores in the natural and the 3rd base on the way. He's not going to die to DTs once again, but already that is 150 minerals that he would have preferred to not spend. But okay, there we go. Nice catch there. That will prevent some of the adepts from warping on in. As Zerglings, they're going to look to trade with this before Glaives does finish, but there's still too many adepts there for that to happen. But we have Roaches on the way. Queens at the front. And this really should not get much done. We're kind of past the point where Glaive adepts really get that much done. Actually, the Queens are going to do a really good job targeting these adepts down. But the adepts, actually, they're going to be, well, actually, the Zerglings and the Roaches are going to be out of position here. So the adepts are going to take a really good trade. All the Zerglings will go on down, and now these adepts can actually get some damage done, especially considering, well, War Prism is morphing more on into the main base here. The Queens are trying to take the fight, but there's just not a lot of the Roaches are just not really at in the numbers they need to be. So they're actually just dying, and yeah, we have the Shades, but they're not going to complete. As the adepts, they're going to sit on into the main base. 5 workers go down immediately. And we're going to have to see how much more gets done. So, of course, the minute the Queens and the Roaches come to bear here, try to get something done. We have the Adepts on into the natural. There's just not enough Roachling for this to really be viable. And now the Adepts are going to shade on in once again. I think this eventually gets cleaned on up, but it's still going to be a pretty heavy trade here. And that's not what DRG wants. That's not what DRG needs. Ideally, he just cleans this up with flying colors, and then he, runs across the map and kills his opponent. But that's not what's happening, because now Adepts morphed on into the main base as well. And I cannot believe Party is making this look as good as he is. Now, granted, he has forced DRG to make sacrifices that he otherwise would not make. He would otherwise not make those force. He would not otherwise not spend those 150 minerals. That could be an extra queen. That could be 3 drones. That could be, Zerglings and Roaches. All of these things. Oh, he's going to find a drone line that's going to have to be pulled. And one of the downsides of the, it's just GG. There we go. GG. Parting takes game 3. There we go. It's up 2-1. So Parting has gone for this Twilight build in 3 games in a row, back to back to back. He went for the Twilight build. It was effective. First one was DTs. Second one was, in fact, not DTs. Well, second one actually was DTs. That was the most effective one. And, well, the third one wasn't DTs. So it's kind of interesting to see what he's going for here. Whether he does go for a similar build, or whether he opts for something that's maybe a little bit different. Maybe more Stargate focused, for example. As we're going to have to see. We'll find out in about a minute. But if there's a map that he does go for Stargate on, I think it's this one. All right, it is a bigger map. It is one that you can theoretically take your third base on easier because this map does have a lot of ideas from Eternal Empire or another similar map on it, right? With the kind of the island 3 bases, much like a Death Aura did, for example. Granted, there's no low ground outside of the third base, so it's not quite as turtle heavy as Death Aura was, but still, you should be able to get away with having your 3 bases rather easily. That being said, it's just going to be Warp Gate once again, and Party is not a player that really likes to go for the trap build that is Warp Gate into Stargate. And we're just going to have to see what exactly he decides to go for here. Is it Glaives once again? Well, Twilight's on the way, so that's a tell by itself, but is it going to be DTs? Is it going to be Glaives? Is it going to be Charge, for example? I mean, that's always a possibility. Granted, it's not all that common, but we do occasionally see these like weird 2-base charge lot all-ins. Generally, they're off of a Stargate, though, so I don't think that's what we're going to see. Maybe we're going to just see a quick blink and do a +1 blink with the third base. Unlikely, but, you know, these are possibilities. As unlikely as they are. So this Adept actually going to find his way on into the main base here, and we'll see that, there's no gas being mined out of this extractor. A clean 2150 for the time being. So just speed, nothing else, which means, well, it means no fast roaches. Nothing crazy here from DRG. No sort of funky all-in as he tries to take a map back. Granted, most of those, they're not really a thing. Bane busts, anything like that, they just don't exist in this matchup. Because, well, if we look at things, if there's an exposed pylon, yeah, absolutely, Baneling busts the hell out of that. But you never see exposed pylons. Not in this match, not at the pro level. And if the pylon is not exposed, Baneling busts are just not going to get anything done, because even if Banelings do bonus damage to structures, I mean, it's 1,000 HP for a gateway, 1,100 HP for a cyber core. You're just not busting through that. There's a reason this doesn't happen. And what, it's 1,000 HP, and what, Banelings do 40 damage to structures at the 40-45 damage to structures, so call it 22 Banelings to bust the gateway down. That my math may be wrong on that, but anyway, point being, it's not worth it. So we do have Glaives on the way here, and this is just your standard Glaives once again. Glaives into a third base, and we're gonna have to see whether DRG can make that hold happen. Now, this Roach Warren is markedly later in this game than it was in the previous game, where he did die to this. So we have more and more Adepts getting warped on in. This is going to be a 4:45-ish Glaives timing, which is a little bit slower. So there you see some Glaives timing that hit exactly at 4:30, but that's going to be fine. Glaives are now done. Shade going on into the natural as the Adepts try to find their way on into the third base. The Roach Warren only just now completed. Nice pull there from DRG. Make sure he does not lose anything. But now, well, once again, he's going to shade onto the ramp, but it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be perfectly on the ramp, which means, well, the Zerglings will trade a little bit better, but still, it's a lot of Adepts on into the main base. We have the Warp in once again. This is a mirror image of that previous game, and once again, DRG is just taking game-ending damage. His Roach Warren is just always just a little bit too late, a little bit too slow, and 10 Morkers have already gone down. He's going to find a couple more here, and look, he's just going to get a couple Roaches as well. These Roaches are not in the numbers they need to really take this fight. He's going to fight his way on into the third base. We're going to see more and more workers do go on down here. If he targets them properly, that one worker really should go down. Okay, he's not going to get it, but he will find his way on. Oh, this actually was not a great shade. Again, a shade on top of a bunch of Queens and a bunch of Roaches and Zerglings and all that fun stuff. So this pressure will be stopped for the time being. There we go. They all will go down. But still, DRG, he's down 11 workers, and he is droning up behind this. Okay, I kind of half expected him to just go for an all-in, but I think he understands that in the game state here, any sort of all-in really is not going to get a lot done. Now, I do appreciate the parting. He is continuing with this pressure. I mean, he's not warping on in for it, but he's got 4 Adepts and a Warp Prism, and that does have tremendous potential for damage. Actually, it's kind of funny, right? When we talk about this build, as parting does have to be careful that he does not lose the Warp Prism. When we talk about this build, often Now, not in this game because DRG lost 10 workers. It's not the first 10, it's not the first 20 adepts that get the damage done. It's like the last 4 that just shade on into a mineral line a little bit later, and they just kind of go kill an entire mineral line. And you're like, what is this? I held! But, well, he didn't hold the final blow. He dodged everything and then just got the haymaker that came on in. And it kind of just slipped right inside your guard and knocked you out. So now we have a bunch of Zerglings here. And realistically, we have 5 adepts here. We have 2 adepts in the wall. That's a double pylon wall. Yeah, this is not going to get anything done. Now, I understand in DRG, he's going to try to make something happen with what he has. He does have, he had a bunch of Zerglings, a bunch of roaches. But that's not going to be all that useful. Now we have Parting moving across the map here. He's up 15 army supply, and it's kind of funny. Right, or not funny necessarily, but when we look at whether a Protoss player, whether his all-in is going to work, it's very much a function of how much supply he has, or she has, right? If it's even, the Protoss player is wonderfully far ahead, and this supply is absolutely even here. As the Adepts are going to jump on top of all of these queens. Immortals firing strong as well. I wonder whether this was a mistake, but no, it's just a bunch of Zerglings that they're fighting, so the Adepts are going to be able to punch all the way on through. More and more Adepts getting warped on in. All the queens go down, which means this Warp Prism is going to be a micro machine here coming on in soon as Adepts are going to try to shade on in into the mineral lines here. The Immortals firing strong as well. And actually, what do the Immortals do? Immortals just go into the third base? Okay, not exactly sure what these Immortals are doing here. But Adepts have found their way on it in the main base, into the natural. Once again, 14 drones have died. These Immortals, they will be saved. Okay, and now we have another Warp End coming on in. Immortals, they're just going to draw the ire of these Zerglings to allow the Adepts to really finish their Warp Ends. And now the Immortals, their Heart Shield should be back on up here, which with this micro, that's just going to be too much here. Parting. He takes the series 3-1, and he'll be facing Kira with it in the finals.